We are a bunch of wild and crazy Cleveland Browns fans, bringing you all the latest in Browns news. Tune in now. Well, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Fanatical Elfz Show. It's Thursday, and we are a bunch of wild and crazy Browns fans. I'm John, and there is Ethan, our new colleague, and down below is Sam, the man all the way from Texas. Welcome, guys. Ethan, welcome aboard to our programming here on the Fanatical Elfz Network, and love the Kent State shout out. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on, and I'm glad to be a part of the Fanatical Elfz family. Very nice to be on with you, and very nice to meet you as well, Sam. So thank you for having me on.
We're very happy to have you aboard. Sam, how you doing tonight?
Pretty good. It's been actually cold, but then again, it's been like 45 degrees, but that's cold to a Texan. But it's been cold and it's been nice. And my grandmom was over a few days ago, so that was nice. But yeah, it's just been waiting for Christmas. You know, Browns haven't been that good, so not a whole lot of Browns expectants. But yeah, it's been nice.
That's an understatement, Sam. Not that good. No, we've been terrible. Thank you.
Well, I'm trying to, so I can't get up to the game on Sunday. And so I've talked to a number of my colleagues at work. And I'm now trying to find somebody on social media. So if you're interested in a great pair of tickets to go see the Chiefs, and that's right, Taylor Swift potentially, let me know. So again, the Chiefs are coming to town, and the Browns are having a dismal season. We're 3 wins, 10 losses. This is Kevin Stefanski's 5th season. Many of us here, and I know Ethan, you're very in tune and on up to date social media, posting. Love the post, love the opinions. Let's just start kind of with everything that's been kind of building up into this game. Let's first talk about Mr. Haslam. He was on talking about his team expectations and whatnot. Now, I didn't catch the whole thing, but the vibe of it basically was that the Browns are probably going to run it back with Kevin and Andrew. So let's start with you, Ethan. Where do you at with all that? Did you see that? Okay.
Yeah, I did. I read this. So yesterday evening, while I'm sitting at my son's band concert, I see the posts and I'm wondering what is going on. And I see, Jeremy Fowler talked to Haslam, and I see what people wrote.
Yeah.
I looked at the article and I read it today, and there's a couple of ways you could interpret it. First of all, he got Haslam at this quarterly meeting.
Yeah.
NFL owners meeting, kind of by surprise. So he couldn't have it all scripted out, which was kind of nice. You get a little, yeah. It's good because it's more natural. And while it sounds as if he's going to be all right, he's going to run it back with Andrew and Kevin.
Yeah.
Who knows? There are 4 games left. What if this thing goes as a disaster and they look horrific? You don't think that guy could change his mind? I quite frankly think he could. And yeah. You need to tell me his wording, and you guys tell me, because I saw this and I will have to use his word as my word.
Yes.
I'm perplexed with him being perplexed regarding the state of the Browns and how they've gone from a playoff team to a 3-10 team. Look, you put everything in. You push all your chips in.
Yeah.
On Deshaun Watson. You had Kevin change the whole offense, and you wonder why you're 3-10. Now, I will say there are a lot of other issues that come into play in terms of the lack of discipline and apparent lack of preparation on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
So I think that it's a combination of things, but the obvious elephant in the room is the quarterback situation, the fact that they changed his whole system, and he basically stunk up the joint for 7 weeks.
Yeah.
And they were terrible. So now here we are. And Jameis was not going to be a long-term solution. He's doing Jameis things. So we'll see what happens. I just honestly hope that He wasn't committal about Deshaun Watson. He was more committal about Barry and Stefanski. But we'll wait and see. I just really have questions and concerns about Andrew Barry's ability to evaluate talent and to make proper draft picks. It's going to be.
Let's talk about that, and let's come back to that here in a minute or a little bit. Sam, what are your initial take? Did you see what Haslam said, and if not, what's your take just on what Ethan was talking about as far as Barry and Stefanski and running it back? Where are you at with all that?
This team isn't going to be all too different from today to next year, I don't think. I think there'll be some minor differences and stuff. But what we'll be looking at is Barry's going to be back. Kevin's going to be back. This is, in my opinion, pretty obvious. I don't think Kevin's leaving anytime soon, at least this year. He'll be back next year. Barry's not going to go anywhere. There's a lot of places the coaches and owner can place blame. I think Kevin can place blame on injuries, not having a good quarterback, beat up offensive line. I think Andrew Barry can put blame places. I think this team is, but I think next year, is when everything will really be. Because I don't think Deshaun's starting. I think Deshaun is done. I think they'll either they'll put him on the PUP list, then they'll be like, oh, he breathed in a blade of grass 3 weeks ago. Sorry, he's on IR for 6 weeks. I don't think he's going to touch another football for the Browns, which will make it harder for them to blame quarterback play. Hopefully the team's healthier. I think next year is when these coaches and the owner will have to pay for their actions a little more than they are going to this year.
And even also the other thing you mentioned earlier, this thing that's been talked about a little bit today, that the Browns are 3-10, and Sam, you just said basically you think that Stefanski's safe, but if they stink up the joint and they just pack it in here the next 4 games, and the Browns get blown out, let's say, and they end up 3-14, Haslam is got a lot of money. I mean, I can't imagine that he's just going to sit there and just say, okay, now he did it with what's his face, Hugh Jackson. We don't want to talk about Hugh, but he did that. And you'd think that Haslam has grown up and matured and understands how, but this whole thing, and like what you mentioned too about just this sort of bewilderment of his how does this team get to where they are? It's like, come on, man. Like, it's so ridiculous that you go there. Anyway, I think, again, if they don't win another game this season, for God's sakes, man, I mean, this fan base is already coming unglued. I want to talk about Deshaun here. Not that we really want to spend a lot of time, but I do want to ask you about something specific with Deshaun. But any other thoughts on what I just talked about as far as that?
No, I think that we've seen. Okay, so Haslam, I don't know if he said this specifically or where but I heard this today talking about the kind of you're darned if you do and you're darned if you don't, because you get people yelling at you because you make change and you don't have continuity. Then you got the same people who are unhappy when you keep people because you're keeping them too long and you should get rid of them. And you can't make everybody happy. And the biggest issue we're going to face is this. So let's say Stefanski, Barry stick around.
Yeah.
Let's say they've got to work around this Deshaun Watson situation, and they've got to figure out the salary stuff. What are you going to do with this guy? There is no way you can put that guy back out on the field. That is a major question. We've got an aging roster. Hopefully our offensive line can hold up. If DeJuan can come back, play left tackle. Conklin has been playing well at right tackle. It sounds like they want to keep Teller around. Posic's not too old.
But they got to get into the draft and get somebody.
They've got to get younger. They've got to get younger and cheaper. So they have to have good drafting. They've got to get impact players. And you know what's going to happen and how unglued people are going to be when Andrew Barry trades down in the first pick. Watch out.
We don't know where that pick is. Sam, have you been looking at have you been researching that yet? I know you like to look at the draft.
Yes.
Are there any offensive linemen that you've been, I know maybe you've mentioned this before, but you want to.
I haven't been. I don't think right now that my best scenario is you take whatever pick. It's going to be around top 5, top 7-ish right now. You're going to take that pick. You're going to trade down to around 15 to 20. You pick up the quarterback out of Miami, and then you pick up a second and a fourth or fifth round pick. You take that value and you take that second pick and you draft another offensive lineman. I think right now the Browns are desperate, and I think we should just shoot. Just why not? We might pick up a Bo Nix kind of player, or I don't think there is a good quarterback in this draft, but I think if the coaches and the owner wants to save their job, they're going to have to figure something out, and they're going to have to make it look like they're trying to do something, whether or not the quarterbacks are good.
We got to make it look like something. We talk about this a lot on this show, and Ethan, you haven't been part of it, but like this whole thing that's been happening this year with this 3-10 season. I mean, another double-digit losing season, and yet here they are. The Haslam's are talking, and they're pushing out all this stuff about the new dome, which on a PR, it's not probably what anybody expected. So I just feel like they're really, because there's a lot of negativity out there, right? Especially recently about the dome, and after this snow globe game against the Steelers, and everyone started, the people that don't want the dome are coming out of the woodwork and saying, oh, you got to be Cleveland, you got to be rough and tough. And, and yet the Haslams and their company are, really trying to showcase this new thing that's potentially could really be a great thing for the community. I think it could be, and I think that's really what's going to happen. And anyway, I don't know where I was going with that.
We were going to get to the Denzel thing, or the Deshaun thing, and yes. I interrupted with my blabbermouth.
No, here's my question about Deshaun. Did any of you did you see his Instagram stuff with the whole? To me, it's just like, I don't know, personally, seeing it, I don't see him being, I cannot fathom him being part of this organization. I know there's this large debate about, well, you got to bring him back because we owe him so much money, but I don't know, man. He's living the life. He's a young kid. He's putting it on social media. It's not that unusual in this day and age. So, but man, he's fired up a lot of older Browns fans, fans who've been to this team. It's like, what the hell why are we keeping this doofus around?
Exactly. I will say, first of all, domes are the future of the NFL. I think people don't understand this very well. I would not be shocked if the next 20 to 30 years, if you time travel to 2050, if that's, of course, if everything was still the same, I think every single NFL team would be in a dome. I have no doubts that every single NFL team, except for maybe a team you might find a team like a fair weather, like a SoFi Stadium, is going to stay the same.
Okay.
But teams that are in fair weather, you might find still being in an open air stadium. But I think the future of the NFL is either a dome or a retractable roof. I think every single team will have some sort of dome or retractable roof. And on Deshaun, then we're going to do the Daniel Jones thing where you're just going to put him on the IR for the whole season. You're just going to blame it on, like I said, inhaling a blade of grass, or he's going to roll out of bed on the wrong foot, and he's going to have done something in IR for 6 more weeks or something.
Okay.
Yeah. So a couple things. I saw the social media post, and the first thought was, what is going on? Of course, it's very interesting, the relationship of the beat reporters, especially Mary Kay Cabot, that there's a lot of outrage. So she goes in to kind of find out what the story is, or put out a story. So you always wonder why. I don't.
Right.
She doesn't work for the Browns, but it sure looks like.
Or does she?
Right. And I have no grudge with her. I've got no gripes.
Sure.
But the point being, as you said, John, that young people post everything. And he's not thinking about it in that way. But it's a very bad optics. The guy is not liked in Cleveland as a member of the Browns. And when we think about guys rehabbing, we think about Nick Chubb.
Yes.
We never heard from him. And as soon as he could be out there on the sidelines, he was there. But we didn't see social media posts where he was out doing anything that would look to be other than him rehabbing and trying to get back on the field. Now,
Yes.
we don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but again, it's all about the optics. And of course, people are going to jump to conclusions. And I'm hearing conflicting reports. The Browns and the report from Mary Kay is saying, well, he has an agreement, to be with his personal trainer down in Miami. Why does he need a personal trainer? Are the professionals that the Browns employ and pay lots of money not good enough for you? You too good for that, buddy?
Right.
Or you just don't
Right.
like it here? Oh, that's what it is. So he's just not going to endear himself to these people. And as you said,
It
Samuel,
was an arranged marriage.
it
I
was.
mean,
It absolutely was. He didn't want to come here.
Yes.
He said no. And then they said, here. And I can't turn this down. So
Right.
he's like, all right, let's go. But let me ask you this. I've got a wild idea. Do you think Jimmy Haslam could make an arrangement with Deshaun for him to retire and take himself off the books? I don't know how that would work, if that would take him off the books. And Jimmy just happens to leave a large bag of $200 million on the doorstep for Deshaun. It seems like a good plan to me, right?
Accidentally, his helicopter's flying over, and it's like, oops, $200 million just fell at the back. Dang.
Oh, darn.
Oh, no, it conveniently landed in Deshaun Watson's backyard. Oh, that sucks. I don't know if forcing a retirement takes him off the books. I don't know if it works that way. Honestly, that very rarely happens / talked about. So I don't really know what the scenario is for that.
Okay. Hey, let's pause here for a quick break. This is the Fanatical Elfz Show. We'll be right back. Hey, and thank you for coming back to the Fanatical Elfz Show, part of Fans First Sports Network. We have myself and Ethan along tonight, and Sam down there in Dallas, Texas. Ethan is our new contributor here on the Fanatical Elfz. We love having him coming on board. And Ethan, if people don't know, maybe if they haven't followed you, I can just tell you right now, he's a diehard Browns fan. He has, I think he has connections back here to Ohio. Did you want to elaborate on anything quickly? I know you're going to have your first show coming up soon.
Yeah, we should be back on next week. Children come into, are rather annoying. And I had to go to a winter band concert and choral concert yesterday. So the Going Nuclear podcast was not on, Going Nuclear CLE. And we will be on. The plan is to be on normally on Wednesdays at 8 o'clock with my co-host, Mike Rasinski, who's a college classmate of mine at not the Kent State University, but just at Kent State University. And we have a lot of fun there. Certainly having grown up in Canton, Ohio, gone to Glen Oak High School. I'm a diehard Cleveland sports fan. Love some Ohio State Buckeyes, and I certainly try to stay connected with everybody there. And with the background in journalism and having done broadcasting, I try and get to know the people in the Cleveland vicinity and keep in contact with them. So I'm glad to be a part of the family, and looking forward to next week's show and going forward.
Excellent. And as a Worcester High School general, we didn't like you guys at Glen Oak very much back in the day. So, but we like you now. So, thank you for being part of our group. We're really excited about that. By the way, you can download us here, or if you're watching us right now live on Facebook, on YouTube, on the X page right now. Also, make sure that you're downloading us on Apple, on Spotify, anywhere that you can find a podcast. You can download us with Fanatical Elfz Network. You can type that in, or you can just type in Cleveland Browns podcast, and we usually pop up. And then subscribe to us, follow us, and you'll never miss a beat. Pop right up on your phone. You'll never miss a show. And Ethan's show, and Sam's got his Browns breakdown show. Great stuff. He brings that to you on usually Wednesdays and Saturdays.
Yeah, Wednesdays and Saturdays. Well, Wednesdays and Saturdays, if I can remember to text you, John, because
I was going to get mad at you, and I'm going to, but off air. But since you brought it up here, I'm glad I'm looking at StreamYard.
Yeah, I'm literally being carried by John right now. I'm like, all right, record the podcast.
I'm your father.
Instantly, I just forget immediately that I need to text John. I'm like, I need to set a. I literally have an Alexa dot in my room. I need to be like, all right, hey, please set like 3 different reminders to text John about my podcast because
Yes.
I cannot remember.
I was so dead tired last night, or I don't know when you did it, but I was just like, I had 3, I think Sherry, who's our colleague, and then Rod, who does the Browns Blitz, and then Sam, I think you did your show early in the day, but I didn't see any of I knew Sherry and, Rod sometimes does his show on Thursdays, sometimes he does on Wednesdays, but anywho, you do the Browns breakdowns. Everybody loves it. We love that. So thank you again. We have all these
shows. They're just not always on time.
That's right. We have just a great list of contributors, these guys, and then you got Sherry doing the Breezy Browns talk, and Steve does his Dog Pound South podcast. Lou does his Burning River Browns talk. He'll have his show on tomorrow night. So Jarrell is doing his dog radio show. He'll be coming on with a new show soon. So Nick Chubb, I think I love talking about Nick on this show, and I've been so happy that he's been back. Now there's been a lot of back and forth about, what we're seeing from Nick, what should we expect, what we've gotten. He was interviewed this week for about 4 minutes, or at least they interviewed him. And he was very to the point. He's very dry. He doesn't give you a lot of this, that, or the other thing. They asked him questions about Kareem Hunt. I just wanted your takes on Nick. I mean, I'm a huge fan. I think I was great to see him break a run the other day for about 20 yards. I did not like, and I guess this is where I want to maybe get into some of this conversation. And we talked about this before we came on the air. When Nick Chubb in this little 4-minute segment talked about what he's doing and, working hard and finishing the season strong, because somebody was saying, oh, well, maybe you should just put it up and save the knee and everything. And Nick was like very much like, no, like we're going forward. But then the other part that kind of bothered me, and this is more of like a player coach thing, is when he was talking about how the Browns aren't really running the ball, but he has to prove to the coach that he has to do more. And all I could think in the back of my mind is I'm pissed off with Stefanski and I call him Steady Eddie already for a number of reasons. And there was a little snippet of him on Hard Knocks, the coach, talking about, passing the ball in this Denver game. So you combine that with what Nick said in my mind, and it bothers me because Nick Chubb is on his way to great things and could be a future Hall of Famer, and I just don't feel like he should be put in a position to say that. And he's saying it because Nick Chubb is a great player and he's a team player. So Ethan, what do you think?
Well, he's a consummate professional, and he is the ultimate team player. So you love him for that. That's why he has endeared himself to Browns fans. And as we talked about earlier, the whole Ken Dorsey offense, we saw what that was in Buffalo. They had no run game. And we once again have no run game. So it doesn't matter that Nick Chubb is amazing. He's not going to get as many opportunities. And with that, he's still just rounding into form. And he's got a long way back. That was a heck of an injury and major surgery. So I would count on him being closer to full speed by next season. Now, the other part of the equation and problem, other than the actual offensive play calling and the style, is the offensive line. The offensive line has been better under Winston than it was under Watson.
Then why is that?
Well, obviously, when someone can read a defense, they can hit their back foot into the ground, make their drop and read. And
this is where it like bothers me, because people start talking about, oh, the offensive line is better. No, like what you just said, Ethan, it's because you had a competent quarterback who knows what the hell he's doing.
Exactly. And so nobody's going to look great in this system as a running back. And it's a grave error. They have really messed up. And I'm hoping that as they look at in Jimmy Haslam's words and stuff, well, we're going to have to look at everything. Well, yes, you are. And here's the first thing to look at. If you're going to keep Dorsey around, you tell him, look, we're going back to a traditional drop back passing offense. I'm not running this nonsense. Because, in fact, if you listen to Tony Grossi, who's been around forever,
yes,
he talks about the fact that the Browns were actually ahead of everybody when they were running the play action and running and drop back passing, and while everybody else was doing the spread offense, and now we're kind of flip flop. They all came back to where we were at, and I'm like, are you kidding me? So again, there is going to be a lot to change, and I think that clip you're talking about was Stefanski, telling Dorsey to keep passing it. I think that was more of a, well, this is what's working.
Sure.
And I kind of understand that. So that doesn't bug me.
I just get pissed off with Steady Eddie sometimes, so I just wanted to share that.
Well, my friends call him Stupid Fansky.
Yes. Sam, where are you at with all this with Dorsey and Stefanski?
Yeah, I mean, I think Nick Chubb, that was a horrible, horrible injury. I mean, that you don't have your knee more or less literally split in half the complete wrong direction, and then you come back the next year and a half and you're perfectly fine. That's not something you do. Now, if someone was going to do it, it's going to be Nick Chubb. But I think people also seem to, I mean, Nick Chubb wasn't perfect, but he had about 5.1-ish yards per carry last game. And I think that's really good. If you can get 5 yards per carry, that's actually really good. I think he's doing a very good season right now, even with his limited runs and his limited yards. He's having a quite good season. And I think he'd still be a top 10 running back if he was played the whole season.
Yeah.
But we've had a rough offensive line. It's been hurt. It's been all over the place. And the offensive line is extremely important to the creation of holes and to the allowance of the running back actually get into the get through the defensive line. But I think people kind of forget how important both sides of the offense are, running and passing. If you don't have a good passing game, you can look at the Cowboys, I guess. The Cowboys, 4-9 Cowboys. But if you look at like the 2021 Cowboys or the prime Ezekiel Elliott and prime Dak Prescott, when you have that kind of an offense where you have an insanely good running back and an insanely good quarterback, it's very hard for the defense to do it, because if they commit to the pass, they're going to get killed on the ground. But if they commit to the ground, they're going to get killed in the air. And if you don't have a good pass game, they're going to be like, oh, okay, just flood the box, and they're not going to be able to stop us. And if you don't have a good run game, they're just going to be able to drop back 9 and be like, oh, what are they going to do? Run the ball? They've got nobody. And so I think without both being able to work in tandem, it's hard to have good production on both sides. Now, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Nick Chubb. But I think Nick Chubb, I think people are giving him a little bit. And then the whole Hard Knocks thing, it's hard to – the offense has been all over the place. I don't know what's going on with it. But I think if you want to be a good running back, like a good running back, there's better places than the Browns to go.
Well, good point. And what's kind of sad, though, like you revert back to everything like what you both have said, and how the Browns did have a top 3 or 4 rush game until just now. I mean, the last 2 years they've been dumb, but they were always ranked in the top 5. And Stefanski's old way of doing things and stuff. I mean, it's just kind of flip flop, like you've mentioned, Ethan.
Right. Well, so actually, as you just brought up, and I think it's a great point, last year after Chubb went down, the running attack struggled. Jerome Ford is not the same caliber. He's a different type of running back, but he's not Nick Chubb. He's not 5 yards a carry guy. He's going to break one at some point, Jerome Ford is, but he's not going to consistently grind out 5 yards or this or that or the other. Also, let's not forget, who's that coach that we don't have anymore that I don't know was a Hall of Famer? Bill Callahan?
Yes.
Yeah, that kind of hurts.
Yes, we've talked about,
that really hurt the cause. And again, the aging of the offensive line, the issues at the tackle positions, it has made it all very difficult to really assess things. But I still would go back and say the actual style of the offense is not suited to having a strong, consistent ground game where you can, if you need to, grind out a game. It's kind of there out of like a necessity. I don't know if I'm using the word, but it's like, well,
Yeah.
you got to have it. So, we'll throw one in. We'll sprinkle one in every once in a while. That's about it.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens Sunday. I wanted to kind of get into a little bit, just not a little bit of a preview with the game coming up. The weather here is going to be frightful. It's supposed to be kind of wet, damp, kind of one of those sort of 40-ish, 45-degree days here in Cleveland. So, it, in my mind, it's a good day to run the ball. But I guess we have the Chiefs coming into town. The Chiefs are, the two-time Super Bowl champions. They won another close one. They've won a lot of close games this year. The other headline here, the Chiefs and Taylor Swift. Yes, Taylor Swift is dating Travis Kelce, the tight end of the.
Really? I didn't know. Are you
serious?
Everyone knows that now.
Yeah. And so the Kelces, the Kelces are from Cleveland Heights, Ohio. And so there's been a lot of speculation, Taylor Swift might be in town and could, it's Christmas time. Could, Taylor be dropping, or not Taylor? Well, I guess she could drop the question on Travis, or Travis dropped the question on Taylor. It's so funny. I mean, I work at a school, and the minute you mention Taylor Swift's name, my God, it's like this gold rush. People are just like, what? Did you say Taylor Swift? Like, yeah, it's Taylor Swift. What is the, like, I'm sorry. I'm old school. I don't see what the big deal is.
You're definitely not Taylor Swift's demographic.
No, I'm not. No. Anyway, big game coming up. Lots of, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, State Farm commercials. I mean, they're just, everything that everybody wants to be. It doesn't seem like they're like, I think, Sam, you said it last week, maybe the week before. It's like, the Chiefs, until they get beat, they're the Super Bowl champs.
They're going to win the Super Bowl. I hate to say it, but I really don't see the Chiefs. Again, I've said it a million times. I think the Chiefs could win the entirety of the playoffs by a point margin of under 10. I would not be shocked if they beat all three teams by 9 points. A field goal. I would come in February, like 25th, 26th, and I would look at it and be like, yep, sounds about right. I wouldn't be shocked if it was 10 or less points that they win by. I think though,
they're going to eat W's, Sam. They're going to eat W's.
Yeah, they're going to eat.
Yeah. I think right now though, this game is the Chiefs' best opportunity to get themselves hot before the end of the season. I think if they can come in here, beat us by 20 points or whatever, and really kick this team into overdrive and send themselves into the playoffs, not looking like a team that has barely beat anyone this whole season.
Yeah.
But Taylor Swift and Kelce and getting married, that's not really my thing.
I have a colleague they're sitting in one of the suites at the stadium on Sunday, and they're asking me, saying, do you think Taylor Swift and the Kelces are going to have a suite next to ours? I said, I don't know. Like,
Donna's going to be there. Come on, Donna's got to be there. Right?
I feel like, do they not cut the suite to the left and the right and clear those ones out, or are they still full?
I have no idea.
They might have to do it if it's a away game, because that's the only reason Chiefs Taylor Swift doesn't come to the away games is because of security problems. But
okay, well, I'm just wondering, just because it is Cleveland, and that it is the Kelces and it's their home.
Taylor Swift is never doing a away game at Baltimore. Just saying.
Yeah,
won't even make it out of the hotel before she's attacked. Let's be honest here.
What are your initial takes, Ethan, on the game coming up on Sunday? Where are you at with the Browns' chances? And
yeah, there's a better chance of there being snow at the equator. I think no, it's not that bad because the Chiefs have not played exceedingly well. What they have done this year has actually been just as impressive, if not more impressive, than other years, because they are playing with such a slim margin of error.
Yeah.
And their defense has been very, very good. They do get the benefit of some bounces and some breaks, and it's unreal the types of things that happen. I will say this, though, and I would love to hear other people's opinions on this. When you start, I hear some people talk about being quote unquote chiefed out. I, my friend, would take the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl any day over anybody else from the AFC North
Yes.
I will not stand for Buffalo to win their first Super Bowl before the Browns do. I also am not going to – I'm not going to lie. I'm saying it right here. If the Lions make it to the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
I'm going to be upset because we will be down to the one and only original team to have never been. And
Yes.
if they win it,
Yes.
oh my, what a kick in the right
That's
there.
right.
So if the Chiefs, like you said, Sam, win all their games and they win by a margin throughout the playoffs of 10 points or less in total, I wouldn't be surprised. The Patriots had a number of years where they weren't even that great and didn't destroy people, and they had to win on the leg of Adam Vinatieri. So we've seen it.
Yeah. Yeah. A couple other things. We talked about this game. Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb. These two guys have, worked. They asked Nick earlier about, his, Kareem coming back, and he was, didn't say a lot. Nick didn't say a lot, but Kareem coming back. It was interesting what Nick Chubb did say though in that couple seconds when he talked about Kareem. I don't know if you caught this, but he did talk about how Kareem talked about loving Kansas City even when he was in Cleveland, when he played for the Browns.
3 Super Bowls.
Well, yeah, and that's the team that gave him a break. That's the team that drafted him. And so, it's like, you're going back to the team that, really thought of you the most. So I thought that was interesting, coming from what Nick said, because obviously I'm sure Nick and Kareem had a lot of conversations over the seasons that they played together. What do you expect to see there? I expect Kareem Hunt has kind of slowed down. He kind of had a hot start, but I imagine he's going to try to play pretty tough.
Yeah, I think just quickly, I don't know. I'm not a football player. I don't think the matchups between two players that were on the same team means as much to those players as it does as the media or fans might think it does. Now, if it's two players, an offense and a defensive player that are playing against each other, they might go a little hard against each other, things like that. But I don't think, other than the normal, walk onto the field, you greet your guy, and then when the game's over, you give him a handshake, say a few things, and leave. I really don't think it means as much to play against a former player on a different team as the media and fans make it out to be. Again, I have no idea. This might be a huge moment for Nick Chubb. I have no idea, but I think it means less to the players and to the people than people do think it means. But I don't really know all of that.
Yeah, I think that what we're going to see here is kind of interesting that Andrew Berry didn't seem to love Kareem Hunt. Look at what had to happen last year for him to bring him back onto the team. We had to be down to a guy, I don't even know, we probably were calling a person out of on a wheelchair as running back. Like, well, maybe we should give Kareem a call. He's out on the street. No, I think Kareem thought he had an opportunity to go get money elsewhere. They didn't bring him back, but it's good that he contributed, and he worked his butt off in Cleveland as far as we know. We never heard a bad thing about him during his time here. He scored touchdowns. He did the hold-in. So it was it's really I'm glad for him. I'm glad that he's been able. It's one of those things where he, as a player, as a person, had a rough patch, and he got an opportunity to turn things around coming to Cleveland after everything that happened, the incident on video with the girlfriend, and to get him here in Cleveland, he really turned things around, was an excellent big part of the team. So now I'm happy for him going to Kansas City. That's good for him. Hey, I hope he does well. And he never did anything wrong or anything that would lead us to have any kind of animosity toward him.
Yeah.
So you were right, John, that he started off kind of hot, but slowly but surely the other members of the backfield are coming back, Pacheco, etc.
Yes. Yeah, no, I think I think he's going to, I don't think, Sam, it's necessarily like he's going to try to compete against Nick. I think it's just the fact that he's coming back to Cleveland, playing against his old coach and stuff. And just what you said too, maybe Andrew Berry soured on him or didn't really, I don't know. I think I appreciate I think we all do. I mean, the Kareem Hunt, I think what was it, the 2020 season where he and Nick Chubb were just, what a tandem, right?
Yeah.
Fire and ice. I mean, they were just, I mean, the playoff game against the Squealers in Pittsburgh, my God, he carried, 3 or 4 defenders on the one touchdown into the end zone. I mean, there's just so many moments like that and he was like the Tasmanian devil, flipping over players and just doing everything that he could. And he still runs like that. And I just,
he runs angry. He runs like a man with his hair on fire. And not David Njoku, but no, that was a terrible bad. No, I'm sorry, no.
Speaking of,
he seriously, he runs hard, and that was what you appreciated about him.
Couple things before we wrap up. You spoke of David Njoku. He will not be playing on Sunday.
Did they rule him out already?
Pretty much. From what I understand, he's not going to play. But I'm not sure who I saw that from on the social media. But even my fantasy league football teams, they have him out. Like they're showing 0 points.
Yeah, it says okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I think that is a bit of a thing, because quarterbacks and tight ends are a very important part of football. I think so. Having a good tight end and having a good quarterback, is very important. But I think it sucks that we've had so many injuries, especially nowadays with the wide receiver core kind of getting beat up, because we've had a few injuries there.
Yes.
But Njoku, he's out. But let's be honest, now with how bad this team has been, you could stub your toe at like 2 a.m. trying to get a glass of water, and you could call in and be like, yeah, sorry, I hurt my toe. And they're going to be like, all right, you're out for the week. Sorry.
Yeah.
The season's over. There's no reason to potentially risk Njoku, because who knows? Njoku might go out on the field and tear his ACL and be out for half the season next year. And that's a risk that you can.
Well, you can have that for any player. I mean, I think that's the question too. Like with somebody like Nick Chubb, who, they're saying, well, why, and then, there you go. Posh Cleaver. Thank you. I know, had a few comments on this, but another question about like Myles Garrett. Again, he's had some issues with post-COVID, the cough and whatnot. I know when he was in Denver, they were saying like he was coughing quite a bit. Steve was talking about that on our show a couple weeks ago, that he felt like that would be a tough game for Myles when he was in Denver. So I haven't heard. All I heard today was that he was back at practice. I imagine he'll play. The other player that I was going to mention is Greg Newsome. The Browns put Greg Newsome on the IR. Is this the last time that we see Greg Newsome in a Cleveland Browns uniform?
I think we see him again next year.
Okay.
Unless he's traded, we will see him back next year.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah.
And I don't know. I think he's a good value. Unless we find some major influx of talent, I'd like to bring him back. Mm-hmm. I've been very disappointed in the overall defense, the defensive backfield. We've seen a regression to the mean for Martin Emerson this season. Yeah. So we need to see some more high-level play. We'll get an opportunity to see
Cameron Mitchell. Yeah.
Cameron Mitchell. Yeah. He was very good last year in spot duty. So I think that's good. I'm hoping he's back. But we shall see. And I think that also Tillman, I don't know if he's been cleared yet, but Tillman's been back
practicing. Yep.
So that's good.
Yeah. Sam?
I think for Greg Newsome, the offseason is very long and a lot of things can happen. It's kind of difficult to predict if he'll be back or not. There's ways you can, but I think I wouldn't be shocked if he's back next year. I think he could be gone. If some team is like desperate for someone like him, we might trade him, but I don't think the value is so high that there'd be a reason to trade him immediately. Yeah. So I wouldn't be shocked if he's back next year. I don't think it's a crazy idea that either could happen.
Noah, thank you for commenting. Noah Olson, our former colleague, still part of Fans First Sports Network. Thanks for the comment, and great show. He's got his new program at The Office, so check that out. Final takes before we part ways. Ethan, again, you mentioned your new show coming up next week. Any final thoughts? The game or your show coming up again? So glad to have you on board.
Well, again, thank you very much for welcoming me into the family. Glad to be a part of it. Stay tuned. Look out for the social media posts for Going Nuclear CLE. We will tell you what has us going nuclear. And when you're a fan of Cleveland sports, or if you're just a person who gets angry at everyday life, there's a lot of things that will have you going nuclear, which is me. I'm generally aggravated a lot, and you mentioned the weather this weekend. Oh, it's a cold, dreary, wet day. You know what would be great? Playing indoors. Well, that would be great. Thank you, Lou. Thank you, Lou.
Thanks, Lou. Another colleague here. Thank you. Part of the family.
Absolutely. He's the comedian. I love that guy's jokes. Those are good. What
kind of thirst trap picture is this profile, by the way?
Yeah, well, Lou
Come
is
on, Lou.
the
wrestler. He's a former wrestler. Look
I
at
know.
the man. He's the man. But yeah, I think that it's going to be a very difficult battle. But we've been surprised. Look at what they did against the Ravens by the grace of Jim Donovan, looking down and shining the light in the receiver's eyes and making dying field goals move swiftly to the right. So who knows what'll happen? I'm just hoping they are competitive and that
Sammy's showing his time.
Yeah, I know.
No, I think Ethan, the part that I think we play on our favor is the weather. It's going to be one of those kind of rainy-ish, drizzly, sort of crappy Cleveland on the lakeshore, little bit of a breeze, and it could play a havoc. And I think that plays in the Browns' defensive favor. And if you have Patrick Mahomes, who's a magical, sometimes I think we could maybe get a few unexpected turnovers and be right there. I hope it's not a 20-point win like Sam. You're suggesting that the Chiefs are looking at this to get on a roll into the playoffs. But final take, Sam.
Yeah, I think that the Browns, the Chiefs have not won games by a whole lot. If the Browns want to shock the world, this is their best opportunity. I personally think the Browns really don't need to be winning anymore. These last 4 games, I know, but I feel like there is no real reason to the Browns winning. I mean, you beat the Chiefs would be really awesome, but there's literally no point in beating the Dolphins. There's very little point in beating the Bengals.
I'm going to be at the Dolphins game. It's going to be colder than hell, Or
then we'll definitely beat them because the Dolphins don't have to play in the cold. But I think if the Browns, I personally think with how bad this NFL teams have been, I mean, there's 8 teams behind or tied with the Browns right now at 3-10 or 2-11. I mean, this season there's great teams, and then there's 4 mid teams, and then the rest of the NFL just sucks. So it's really hard.
That's sad. It's sad because if we had competent quarterback play and we had guys that were disciplined in any way, shape, or form, we are at least staring at an opportunity at the playoffs, and that's what makes you shake your head even more. But I agree with you, Sam. I won't be upset if they win a game, but I'm also won't be upset if they continue to lose and stay as high as they possibly can be in the draft.
Yeah, and I mean, the Browns, I lost what I was going to say. I was going to say something, but it's gone now.
Now you're only 17, dude. I'm 55.
I don't know where it went. I don't know where it went. It's somewhere. I remember now. I was saying that the Browns, forget Deshaun Watson, whatever. The Browns on paper, if you go back to this day 1 of the NFL season, before that first game, on paper, the Browns still were a 11 or 12 win team. I think on paper. I think obviously that didn't turn out, but I think the Browns could have been great. They didn't end up being good, but I think the Browns just, they have an en masse of just problems. I don't know. There's no direct fix. There's no specific spot you can point at and say, fix this, team will be good.
Yeah.
It's this, and they're all 20% of the problem, but 20% times 5 is still 100%. And I think that's the biggest problem is there's a lot of smaller problems that are adding up into, you're checking my math. You're like,
that's good, Sam.
That's my idea. That's just a death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Well, check these guys out here on the Fanatical Elfz network here. Ethan's with his going nuclear show coming up next week. Sam's got his Browns breakdowns. We will have pregame shows on Sunday prior to the Chiefs game. So tune in to us for that, along with some more shows prior to that. And then after, we'll have our famous post-game show. So stay tuned for that. Maybe Lou will come to us on our pregame or post-game show from the stadium. Again, thank you so much, guys, for being here. Ethan, again, welcome aboard. Sam, great talking to you down there in Dallas, Texas. where you're always wearing that cowboy hat with style. So thanks again, guys, very much. Go Browns. Let's see if the Brownies can
Go
beat Taylor
Browns.
Swift and those Chiefs.
Not if the refs are involved.
Here we go, Brownies.
Here
we
we
go.
Boom, boom.
Here we go, Brownies. We got to
Here
find my
we
music.
go.
Here we
Boom,
go.
boom.
See ya.